One of the things I love to do on this channel is bring new faces with new stories. And I have a real treat for you today. I have the fittest man on earth, AKA 2008. I have the baddest man I have ever personally worked out with, and someone I look up to because he's doing some amazing things. The one and only Jason Khalipa. Jason, how you
Wow.
doing, sir?
Wow, that was a good pump up. Yeah. I mean, yeah, that's good. That's good. I have spent a lot of time in the gym and on the jiu-jitsu mats. That's for sure. So yeah, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So if why don't you kind of give Jason's Khalipa's resume kind of pre 2008 onward? You've done a lot of things. You've been really focused on fitness for a long time, but why don't you give us your resume?
Yeah, I mean, I've been in the fitness space for about 20 years. I started off, or longer than 20 years actually. I started off in 15. I was working at the conventional gym. I found CrossFit early on. I ended up competing professionally in CrossFit for a decade. So for 10 years, I then opened up brick and mortar gyms all throughout the world, which was a really cool experience. And 2016, my daughter got sick with leukemia, so I stopped competing professionally in sport CrossFit. I found jujitsu around that same time, and I've been doing jujitsu and obviously still training hard every day for the last, since 2016. I'm not professionally in CrossFit, but instead just hitting workouts and then obviously getting on the mats and doing jujitsu. And I have two kids. I've been married to my wife. We got together when we were both 15,
Wow.
and
Legend.
yeah. So one wife or one girlfriend, one job. Just the job turned into a business. And,
Right.
over the years, we've opened up different locations, done a few of those different things. And then about a year ago, so about end of 2023, give or take, we really started saying, hey, what are we trying to do in the future? What's the vision of what I want to do? What am I passionate about? And I've owned gyms for so long and we've served as gym owners. And that's something that's been really important to me. And it still is. But going into 2024, I said, hey, I really want to impact men. I see a need for the guy who's in his 30s, 40s, 50s, who has young kids and isn't physically capable. I'm tired of seeing it, and I have a
Yeah.
solution. And so I started just really getting behind a brand called Train Hard that's about helping men train, protect, and provide. And for me, it's really important about this idea of protecting and providing, and we can dive into it. But
Yeah.
that's what I've been very focused on, along with what we're doing at NC Fit, but specifically through the men at Train Hard.
Yeah, I'd love to dig into Train Hard because I think you're on a mission there that feels very kind of personal to you. Because again, NC Fit, which I was a part of up in, it was just off Central, I think, for 4 years. It was such a great community. You were nice enough to come down and work out there plenty of times, and it was awesome. But to see what you're doing now with Train Hard, you're doing free stuff in a parking lot because it's that passionate to you. Where did that motivation come from?
Um, yeah. So, for 18 months now, I've been hosting free workouts in a parking lot. And I'm doing it because I want to be about it and not just talk about it. And I want to be a beacon for fitness. And I want to be able to connect like-minded men, especially in the Bay Area. You have a lot of people, and maybe even people that listen to the show, super wealthy, super successful, but they can't run after their kids. They can't go do the
Yeah.
thing. And it really bothered me. And I started saying, why am I like quote unquote judging these people or saying this? Why don't I just put out the bad signal and say,
Yeah.
come join me? No fees, no nothing. Just come join me. And we're
Right.
going to get back to doing what guys do, which is just hard, gritty stuff in a parking lot. And what my favorite part about it is over the last 18 months, you got guys, showing up in, the nicest cars on the planet and then doing burpees on asphalt. And it's just so like, it's very fulfilling for me because,
Right.
our vision is to help men protect and provide. And when I think about protect as a dad, as a husband, it means that I have to have the ability to run, jump, climb, lift, and
Yep.
fight if necessary. Like I have to. I don't have an
Yeah.
option not to. And when it comes to provide, which is even potentially even more important, I need to be able to not only provide financially, which I think working out helps you show up better at work, but more importantly, or just as importantly, I should say, is being able to provide experiences. Nobody should be limited by their physical fitness to go provide experiences for their kids. You shouldn't.
Yeah.
And if you're too out of shape to go do the thing, dude, we got to get you in better shape, and it needs to start now. And that's what Train Hard. That's what I'm about. And yeah, just building the momentum.
Well, let's just celebrate it now. I know we'll hit it again at the end. So if somebody wanted to check out one of these, I'm going to guess it's in the Bay Area. It's on the weekend. So date, time, place. Let's put it in right now. Where is this thing happening?
Yes, if you go to my Instagram at Jason Kalipa, and essentially if you message me your email, I'll put you on an email list. But in general, it's 6:30 in the morning, Saturday mornings at the Los Gatos Library, and in general, not always. So make sure that you get on the email list. And, aside from that, if you go to th.fit, as in trainhard.fit, but th.fit, you can go there, join our newsletter, and just stay up to date to what we have going on. We're committed to making an impact. It's going to just continue to snowball from here, I think.
Yeah. So folks, if you're in the Bay Area and you're a guy, you want to see what this is all about. No price. Go to Jason Kalipa's Instagram, send him a note. Let's see when the next one is. 6:30 Saturdays, Los Gatos Library. Most of the time, we'll hit that again at the end.
Sure.
But what I really love about this train hard mindset is it's not fancy. It's just gritty. It's
it's anything but. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I've seen some of the pictures, some of the videos. It's like, yeah, that's let's go get dirty, let's go get sweaty, let's support each other, and looks like a blast, man.
Yeah, I mean, really what the heart of that group is, and I guess everything that I'm kind of about is like, I live in a world, we live in a world that's gotten softer and softer and softer. And I'd say men have become softer and softer and softer. And especially in the Bay Area, it's as soft as can be. And what we have to do is we have to look and say to ourselves, why are we the most wealthiest nation, the most wealthiest people, but yet our men, specifically ages like 30 to 50, are some of the most depressed people, and the suicide rates are so high? Why is that? Like, why? And just start asking questions. And I think what happens is a lot of guys lack purpose. And you could be super rich, but if you lack purpose, there's not going to be much fulfillment there. And what I found is that when a guy comes out and he just does something just old school, gritty, hard with another guy, and then goes and has coffee after and talks about whatever's on their mind, the connection, the purpose, the fulfillment just skyrockets. And that's probably been the biggest thing that I've seen firsthand.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, let's go back to kind of 2008. Obviously, that's when you are crowned the fittest man on earth. What was it about CrossFit that excited you? Because, there's a transition. A lot of people go to the whole robo gyms and, back and, buys and, chest and tries and, all of that bodybuilding stuff. What was it about CrossFit at that time that's like, what got you excited? Because it is certainly a different feeling.
Yeah, I mean, certainly. I think early on, I was intrigued by the complexity, learning new skills, trying new things, muscle ups, snatches, stuff like that. Now, that's definitely evolved over the years. But in 2006, when I was first introduced, that's what I fell in love with. This idea of a coach, a community, doing hard things together, learning new skills, all of those things intrigued me. And so that's what intrigued me from a competitor perspective for a really long time. How do I get a bigger snatch? How do I get faster? How do I run a faster mile? How do I do this? How do I do that? And then as you get older, right, your desires and you just change, you evolve.
Yeah.
But that's what initially captivated me.
Yeah. And it's really funny what excited me about CrossFit. So I didn't pick up CrossFit until I was 42, 43. So I'm 14, 15 years older than you. But what got me about CrossFit, I don't know what it was, but it was that feeling at the end of a workout. It's kind of like in your heart. It's almost like in your chest. It's like, I did something, right? You in a CrossFit workout, I always knew when I was done.
Yeah.
Your body knows, right? When you just go do, 3 sets of 10, and sometimes you do that like, did I even get a pump? I mean, like, what am I doing here, right? And the fact that it was always usually short, like a lot of the workouts are 7 to 15 minutes, 20 minutes, whatever it is. So it's very efficient. And then the community, that was always the thing. Cause at least at NC Fit, you guys had some of the baddest guys around, and there was all ranges, right? So you could always, gauge yourself. And it was always friendly as well. It really was a pretty good community back in the day, at least my experience.
Yeah. And still today, right? Because what it does, it starts to create. So for example, the men's club, I'll just use that as an example. Intentionally, I get questions like, hey, why do you always do it outside? Why do you do it in the mornings at 6:30? Why do you do it when it's so cold? Because I'm trying to weed out and
Yeah,
I'm trying to identify the
exactly.
right people. Like, I don't want it at 9 a.m. I'm not trying
Yeah.
to get the dude. I'm trying to get the guy who's prepared to sacrifice some drinks on a Friday night to show up early because he's prioritizing that in his life. And one of the things I think that CrossFit's done really well is that, dude, if you have a 5 a.m. crew, a 6 a.m. crew, not to say the other crews aren't hardworking and diligent, of course they are, but it just, what it starts to do, or any CrossFit gym, any jiu-jitsu gym too, it starts to weed out. You start to capture people who are really trying to take fitness to another level.
Serious. Yeah.
And what that does is it equates into other areas of your life. And so if you're listening to me talk about this, you're like, dude, okay, I get this. This guy's like on the fitness high horse. Yes, you're right. I do. And the reason why I'm so passionate about this is that I believe no matter what problem you have in your life, no matter what problem you have, it starts with your fitness and your workouts, period. Like going through a divorce, I haven't experienced that. Whatever. You have a sick kid, I've experienced that plenty.
Yes.
Go work out. You have business problems, your gyms get shut down because of COVID, go work out. Like I have experienced adversity in my life at a level that is pretty high. And the one common theme that I've seen across everybody I know is that the baseline, if your fitness is not on point, you're not going to be as prepared to handle it.
Yeah.
When something's going wrong, work on your fitness, and I guarantee you're going to bring a different energy in for the rest of that day.
Yeah, well, let's talk about that, right? Because you were a professional CrossFitter. You were getting ready to go back to the next, it's your 10th year in the games, and you get this horrible diagnosis that your daughter is sick, and you instantly make a choice, retired, all about her. Just that has got to be a wake up call, like few things are.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's a good way to put it, right? Yeah. I mean, I look at, we've had some other adversity that's occurred because of that as a byproduct, but, let's just take two big examples to discuss. One is a child getting sick with leukemia. I think most people listening who have kids could be like, got it. That would be really shitty,
Horrible.
right?
Yeah. Horrible.
And for those who have experience with it, which I'm sorry to hear that, they could even imagine from an adult perspective, and now watch that in kids. That's the worst. And then on top of that, right, in business with COVID, when COVID hit in California at the time, we were owning and operating about 30 locations.
Yeah.
And in the Bay Area, we had 7. When that hit, man, I mean, it was terrible.
Yep.
But there's so many things that are outside of your control in both of those situations. But what's in your control is getting your mind right. And for me, getting my mind right included training hard so I could show up better when I was in the hospital. I could show up better when I was dealing with, lawyers and COVID, right? Those are examples.
Yes.
And so, when you get news like what we've received, I think the only thing you can say to yourself is, am I doing everything in my power today to set myself up for success for not if, but when I have to deal with something hard? Am I doing everything? Am I working hard at work to build a financial hedge? Am I connecting well with my family, my friends, to really create good bonds that if I needed them, I have them there? And then, of course, am I working out hard? Because you never know what can happen. And I'll tell you what, if you break a leg or whatever, and you can't work out for 3 months and you're super fit, it doesn't really matter. If you break a leg and you're not fit at all and you're super obese, you might be in a situation where you might need to get on diabetes, medication as an example.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, one of the things I'd love to talk about is you transitioned to jiu-jitsu, right?
Yeah.
Rolling and all of that. Why don't you talk about that experience? I've seen more and more people go that way. I don't know if it's the Joe Rogan effect or whatever it is, but a lot of the guys I know are really hyping up jiu-jitsu as a way to really up the activity level.
Yeah, I think it frees your mind. I think it's just exceptional. The real reason why I started it, I'd say, was twofold. The first one was, at the time in my life, I wanted an hour to break away from, some stressful stuff going on in my life. And there's no better way to be present and focused than when someone's trying to choke you. You
get a little focused.
Yeah, it doesn't matter what you have going on in your life. I don't care. when you're on the mats and you're trying to get someone's trying to choke you, you are 100% present on that moment. And there's something very beautiful about that. So that's one reason why I did. The second reason is, I'd be traveling around the world, teaching seminars for CrossFit, competing in CrossFit. And, I'm a bigger guy. And people would always be like, "Oh, dude, I don't want to, mess with you. Because
Yeah.
I'm pretty fit and whatever,
Yeah.
right?"
Yeah.
And I would just always remind myself that, like, before I got into CrossFit competing, I had done Muay Thai for several years, and that's like stand-up Thai kickboxing. And I always remember telling myself, like, dude, I could be big, but man, if you got a guy with some skills, it really doesn't matter.
It
Like,
doesn't matter. Yeah.
doesn't matter. And so when I finished competing in CrossFit, I was like, you know what? I want to be able to be the guy who could protect. I want to have that skill to control somebody if I needed to, or break away if I had to. And that's another reason why I found jiu-jitsu.
That's awesome. Well, the other thing I've seen you done, because again, I've been following you and friends for a long time. You're also doing training with guns and pistols and handguns and stuff. What's this called? What's this about?
Yeah, so that's called the Tactical Games, and basically it's a 2-gun. So one of the reasons why I love it, so a typical week of training, and for those of you who you guys might think this is like absolutely absurd. Just please keep in mind, this is also kind of what I do for a living, and it's really important to me. Is I train every day in my garage at 6 a.m. every day, and then throughout the day, I'll either go to jiu-jitsu, or I'll end up going to the shooting range. So I train jiu-jitsu 3 days a week, and I train at the shooting range once a week. And I'm developing skills on a 2-gun level. One is with a rifle, shooting anywhere from 50 yards to 500 yards, and then another is with a pistol. And what you do is, for those competitions, you climb a rope, shoot. You run a mile, you shoot. You do an obstacle course, you shoot. And basically, it's a sport of blending fitness or CrossFit with firearms.
Yeah, it's really fun, because if you haven't ever tried to do something precise like shooting when your heart rate is up at 150, it's a little bit different.
100%.
You're not just, you're not down at a resting of 52 or whatever it is.
Yeah, and it's not for everybody, right? Like people need to find what inspires them. And if you're listening to this show and you're like, dude, okay, I get it. Grappling's not really for me. Jiu-jitsu's not really for me. Okay. I'd be like, all right, well, what is for you? Like, what is inspiring to you? Is it running a half marathon? What is it? But setting these pillars, setting these goals, competing, man, I'm telling you, if you're lacking motivation right now and you put on the calendar a 10K with your best friend or a 10K with your wife or whatever, dude, you are going to be so fired up and be on the path. And that's another reason why I compete in all these things.
I think that is such great advice, and something I keep trying to tell my audience. I share my goals out loud with all of them. Last year, I tried to do something as a 52-year-old that I had never done, which was run and complete a marathon.
Yes.
Which I talked about in January, and I completed in November. It was the Vegas Marathon, just about 5 hours.
5 hours. Okay. All right.
Yeah. So, the first half, 13, whatever, 0.1, 2 hours, 2 minutes, something like that. The next, what would it be? What would that be? 13. So next 7 miles, about an hour and 45 minutes. And then the body fell apart, right? The last 6 miles is like it was bad. But I told myself I was going to finish or go to the hospital.
Right.
It was one of the other, right? So we finished, but I did it. And now
and just to kind of give you a shout out, like, people don't realize just how powerful what you just said is. You goal set, right? You said, hey, I'm going to do this. And then you achieve the goal. And regardless if you didn't get the right time, and there's levels to it, right? But your goal was complete it. Your goal wasn't to do it in 3 hours or less, right?
No.
But imagine throughout that year, there were probably plenty of times you did not want to train. But you told yourself, well, dude, I got to go out there and go run because I have this goal. And so by setting this goal, it held you accountable throughout the year to, on days you wouldn't have trained, you probably got in some training. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. And I mean, to be very clear, I made choices that I would not have normally done. Like, again, I was doing this as a 52-year-old. And one of the things I was concerned about is lifting weights. I used, CrossFit guy, right? So barbell snatches, all of that. I was worried about getting hurt, because then that would affect my training. So I did not touch a barbell for 9 months. And that other stuff happened, but I finished the race. I trained all the time. I got the prep in, and finished it. So I love that. I love putting a date. I love telling everybody what you're going to do.
I think there's something really powerful about that. Like last year I competed in tactical games. I did a high rocks. I did a few different events. This year I'll definitely be competing in jiu-jitsu because I'm at a brown belt level, and that's the step right below black belt. And so I assume I'll be getting my black belt pretty soon. And so I want to make sure I get in my competition before that. Because once you get a new belt, you can't like go back, like,
Right.
like,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
you
You
either
want to compete as a badass brown belt, not a newbie black belt.
exactly. So that's kind of like the theory there. And then obviously competing at tactical games. But I think it's just important to set up these benchmarks. And those benchmarks can even be as simple as like, hey, by this time I want to be doing this. And yeah, I can't speak enough on if you're a middle-aged guy who isn't training at least 4 days a week. Like
Yeah.
I
I don't know
can't
what you're doing.
understand
Yeah.
why not. Yeah.
Yeah.
Are a lot of your audience, are they like in finance or tech, you said?
I would say, yeah, tech finance is probably, if you were to bucket into the largest bucket. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, just think about it this way. Like you could hit an IPO, you could make gazillions, you could make whatever. You could do everything you want, man. But if you don't have your health, what does it even matter? Like it just it
Well, yeah, well, the big thing for me now is, right, I get to play the old buck in this because I'm over the hill, right? I'm over 50 now, so I'm on the other side of that. There's a plenty of people that watch my channel in their 30s. They still have, high testosterone. They still have all that. Maybe their body's still, chewing up the fast food as they throw it down their throat. But that ain't gonna last forever.
no.
And time gets us all, right? Father Time is undefeated. So take this opportunity to get healthy now, because it's a lot easier at 30 than it is at 50.
Especially to build muscle. If you want to build muscle, building muscle is a lot easier at 40, 30. Like there's never a better time to get in better shape than there is right
Right
now if you're
now.
listening to this. Yeah.
Exactly.
Because the longer you go out,
It only gets worse.
the harder it gets. And so
Yeah.
the better you can build a hedge, that's
Yeah.
good.
That is it. One of the things I'd love to ask you, because again, you've been in the industry for 20 plus years, you're at the highest level. What are some things that maybe you believed 20 years ago, like almost religion, that you now look back on going, couldn't have been more wrong?
I'd like to think because of my background, I tried to have a more open mind than some people in CrossFit. Just because
Sure.
I started off in the conventional gym and I saw a lot
Mm,
of stuff. I saw people who bodybuilded that had phenomenal mental strength. Like the bodybuilders, people can hate on bodybuilders. They have no idea the type of dedication it takes when you're on stage to be
yeah.
at X body fat where they haven't had any water for 2 days or whatever it is.
Yeah.
So I think learning that and looking at it more from like, hey, there's an aesthetics perspective and there's a functional perspective.
Mm,
I'd say that when I got into CrossFit, I probably poo-pooed too much the people who are looking for aesthetics. I thought that was wrong. And I think in hindsight, who am I to tell someone what's right or wrong? If they want to just look jacked, but not be as functional, go for it. And if someone
yeah.
wants to be a little bit more functional, but not looked as jacked, great. As long as your blood work is good, like who am I to say? I think that I've changed my mind on complexity. I think that I used to think that complexity was really important to workouts.
Mm,
Now I look at workouts in terms of just like what stimulus are they trying to provide me? Am I getting stronger, fitter, more capable? Is it making me a better dad and husband? If it is, let's keep doing it. If it isn't, then I don't need to do it. So like I don't ever want to do another handstand push-up. I never want I
yeah.
never want to do another muscle up.
Right.
It's just it doesn't drive me. Now, if it drove me and it was something I was aspiring to do, that's different. Like jujitsu,
Yeah.
I'm inspired to learn new skills. So that's how I've kind of changed my mind, I guess. And then when it comes to nutrition, I think I've tried everything from zone to paleo to carnivore. I think that in hindsight, I would focus less on restriction and more on adding. And I would encourage anybody to do the same. I would encourage you to add more protein into your diet
Mm.
so you're not eating the crap instead of restricting yourself so much. It's just not sustainable. So that's a big difference.
Yeah. One of the things on the protein, again, as my audience knows, but we'll bring you up to date. The thing I'm trying to do in 2025 is I had all my blood work done. I had a DEXA scan. I had all of these things because I'm trying to figure out how much of a change I could make in a year. So I'm under the guise of a doctor and biohacker. I'm bringing everybody involved that I know to say, hey, what are some things that I could do to get better? And the DEXA scan, 34% body fat, horrible. Like in the top 99% of the people, at my age.
But you're not, are you still at 34% right now?
No. I'm
Sounds
down
like
15 or 16 pounds in 6 weeks. Yeah.
I was gonna say, because like right now, I mean, obviously I can't see because I'm not with you, but I mean, you don't look like you're at 34% body
No,
fat.
I'm probably 25 by now, I would guess, and going lower because
Yeah.
I'm even stronger than so. Yeah, so I don't mess around, right? So, that's my goal. And blood work, my blood work said I was 99 years old or 98 or something, and I put this all on my channel. I brought my doctor on. He showed the work, so everybody sees all the horrible markers. So I'm trying to figure out what could I change. So in 6 weeks, because I cheated a little bit, I started on December 15th after I had my last scan, and it's wild. So protein, I've simply upped my protein intake. Like it's the cornerstone of my diet. I'm trying to get at least a gram per pound of body mass.
Yeah.
And if you eat that much protein, you're not really that hungry for anything else.
Dude, what do you weigh right now?
So now I'm 202.
But like, so think about that. So I'm 214, 215, and to get in 200 pounds, let's just for easy math, to get in 200 grams of protein, it's not super easy. You have to consume quite a bit of food, especially if you're not doing like protein powders and stuff like that, but you're actually like consuming. So like, for example, this morning, I had 4 eggs along with like this axis deer meat, combining it. And I'm getting at least 50 grams within that. I'm trying to get 50 grams of protein in before 8 a.m. And I then, yeah. So my goal, the way I do the protein is I'm trying to get it across at least 3 meals minimum a day and at least 50 grams of protein per meal. That's the goal.
Wow. Yeah. And again, it's a lot of fun. And again, so it's protein, it's fats, my carbs usually are under 100 grams a day, maybe 110 on a bad day. But yeah, it's wild that it's falling off. The second thing I've done is I was 4 years CrossFit, 5 days a week, loved it. 2 a days was common. I used to measure working out with how long it took me to peel myself off the mat.
Yep.
That's what I measured a good day.
Right.
I don't measure it that way anymore. The workouts now at 52 are, hey, did I put the muscle that I was wanting under strain? Did I get the heart rate up? 20, 25, 30 minutes, get a sweat, good. But I do 15,000 steps a day, come hell or high water. Where before, as a tech worker, right, we're talking 3,500 to 5,000.
Are you wearing a backpack when you do that at all, or no?
I put on a vest probably half the time, one of those CrossFit vests, the 20 pounders or whatever they are, like the Murph vest. So yeah.
Yeah, I found that rucking is a really valuable tool. Rucking is just a fancy word for basically putting a weighted backpack on. We partner with a company called GoRuck, and they're a big partner of mine. And essentially, they have plates you could put in the backpack, and you have 20 pound, 30 pound, 45 pound, and it's incredible because what it does is it loads the spine and it pulls the shoulders back. So for those software engineers who are listening to this, or people who work on a computer a lot, right now I'm standing. A lot of people who are sitting have this internal rotation of the shoulder. And what you'll do is with the backpack, it'll open your chest up as you walk, and it will load your spine. And so whereas a vest, there's nothing wrong with a vest. I'm not crapping on a vest. I have those, of course, too. But what the backpack does is, first off, you can load it a little bit more. It loads your spine a little bit differently. And then most importantly, it pulls your shoulders back. And that in itself, I think, opens you up.
All right. Well, we're going to have to get that. We'll get the URL for folks for GoRuck. I'm sure he has a link. We'll put it in the show notes, and I'll go buy one of those today. GoRuck. Got to get my action items, Jason.
Yeah, no, it's so again, while we're on the subject, they have 3 different weights. I mean, I have a bunch of them, but that's one of the ways we also started the men's clubs. We just went out for rucks, but they have 3 different weights. 45 pounds. It sounds like a lot. It's not that crazy. Okay. If you do go out and ruck, just quick word of advice for anybody. The GoRuck backpacks, in my opinion, are the best. They're super durable. They're expensive, like $200, whatever, but they're going to last you a lifetime. I use them for when I travel and when I ruck. But if you are going to do it, cinch it up And then when you think you've cinched it up enough, pop it up one more time and cinch it up even more. You want the backpack as high as humanly possible
Okay.
on your back. So you load the top of your spine and not so much the bottom.
I like it. I like it. Very, very cool. What's an example of a workout? If somebody's going to come to your 6:30 on Saturday, what would be like, what was the last workout you guys did
So
last weekend or weekend before?
yeah, I wanted to pull something up for you, the way that I'm looking at things now. So I'll answer your question. I'm gonna follow up with this. Right
Sure.
now, the way we do workouts at the men's club is that I bring with me 30 to 40-pound sandbags that are what they call jerry cans. And you could carry them, you could pull them, you could do all kinds of stuff. I bring about 30 of them with me. And then we partner or triple people up and we do, push-ups and sandbag round overhead. We do burpees and front squats. We do, uh, split squats and jogging and sprinting and you name it. I'm just thinking if these guys come once a week, we're getting in a 45-minute workout with some strength and conditioning, grabbing coffee after, and it's a good way for them to keep their momentum. So that's the kind of stuff we do.
Yeah. Yeah. You're just trying to get them moving, get them acknowledgement and get them a little dirty, I guess.
100% get a little dirty. And so, but in our workouts, and I'll definitely want to talk to you a little bit more about this offline because I think you'd be a really good candidate for it. We have some new apps developing soon, but currently available on the market. My favorite program that I've ever built is, we call it Force right now. We might change the name, but essentially it's a 6-day-a-week program. And the way it's structured is there's a full body strength to start off the week. Then there's an anaerobic conditioning, then a mixed modal, which is a little bit more like your CrossFit-ish. Then there's aerobic conditioning. So you have anaerobic conditioning, which is like a fast sprint with quite a bit of rest. That's 1 day of training. Then you have aerobic conditioning, which might be like a mile run with a shorter rest, and then a 800-meter run or whatever, like a little bit longer durations to hit more of an anaerobic stimulus versus this quick oxygen or just gas exchange, boom, sprints. Then we have a full body strength, and then finish it off on Saturdays, another mixed modal workout and so the way we structure it now is different than when with CrossFit. CrossFit basically every day would be like some type of strength and then something like a mech on that was 12 to 20 minutes. Although I still think that works, we're looking at it a little bit more like from a longevity perspective. We're going to lift a little bit more full body strength here. Then we're going to do a little bit more anaerobic here, a little bit more aerobic. So you're not just taxing the system every day with intensity. That's not the intention.
Right. Yeah. And again, that's definitely for folks over 40. That's where I would tell people to go. I can't do what I did at 30 years old, right? It's just, there's too much to risk because you get injured. It just takes longer.
Yeah. So I'm really excited about the programs we're offering right now. I think that there's some stuff in the future that I'm pretty excited to do to just make a bigger impact, a little bit more concierge tailored service for people. But that's down the line.
Yeah. What else, let's talk to let's paint a vision. 40-year-old engineer, or frankly, 40-year-old sitting at the desk, right? They spend 6 hours a day at a desk or in meetings. They're putting in 4,000 steps or less. They're just over the computer. And, we can see their future. You've seen enough of these people to know what, you could fast forward 10 years and tell them what's going to look like, and it's not going to be pretty. What would be some advice you would give that individual?
I mean, the first piece of advice I'd give them is I'd ask them, are you happy with what you're doing for your health and fitness right now? Are you happy? Are you content with what you're doing? And if the answer is yes, then I'd give them a high five and I'd say, I'll talk to you in a year.
There you go. Okay.
That's the first step, right? Because I'm not here to judge anybody on anything. I'm just here that when you're ready, I'm ready to help you. So that's the first thing. So then now you go up to John. He's like, look, how are you feeling? Be like, dude, I have brain fog most of the day. I sleep like shit. I can't, I get home from work. I can't have any energy for my kids. I'd be like, okay, well, is that something sustainable that you can continue? He's gonna say no.
Right.
And so I think the answer is, if you're sitting here listening to this right now and you're in a specific situation in your life that cannot continue the way it is, right? For whatever reason, that could be maybe you're not making enough money, maybe you're doing this, maybe not, then you have an obligation to make a change. And then when it comes to fitness, once you realize a strong why, like, why do I want to do this? Once you really think about it, dude, you're going to be unstoppable.
Mm.
You're unstoppable. I could sit here and say, go out for a walk. I can say, go do push-ups. I could go tell you to do 50 things. But at the end of the day, the guy who's not where they want to be needs to realize, why does it matter in the first place to make a change? And once you realize that, it can't be six-pack abs. That's a byproduct. It can't be necessarily better blood markers. Maybe that is something. Maybe you're right on the brink of being sick with your doctor. But you got to think of something deep. Like your wife doesn't find you attractive anymore because you're too overweight, right? You got to think of something deep that you like, fuck, I want to make a change. Because then when things get hard, which they will, you'll revert back to the why you started in the first place. And if it's for your kids, I'd write that down on the mirror. And every day I would go out there and train hard, say you could show up for them. And it won't happen today and it won't happen tomorrow. But a month from now, dude, I'm telling you, your energy will be up. Your sleep will be better. It's going to be incredible.
No, that's the magic of train hard, and the simplicity of what you're doing is if you get somebody who comes to you with that strong why, you can get them to the finish line. It doesn't take a year.
No,
right? It takes 30, 45 days to see a noticeable difference.
Dude, 100%. It's in most people's lives who are probably listening to this, is probably the easiest thing they'll ever, the quickest thing they'll ever do to actually see results. Like if you're saying, hey, money's my problem, finding a relationship is my problem, those things take time. Like you can't just,
and a little luck.
and a little luck, right? Like with the fitness stuff, doesn't take luck. It just takes effort.
No. I'm down 15 pounds in 6 weeks. And I would tell you, I've done nothing difficult.
Well, and we're also blessed to be men, right? Like men have a much easier time losing weight and gaining muscle than women do, in particular when you're younger. And so, yeah, there's no better time than now to get started. And if I could help you, join the newsletter, go to th.fit, join my newsletter. Every Wednesday I put out a newsletter, and just email me back, because I email everybody, and I could be here as a resource for you.
Jason Khalipa, the man, myth, the legend, is a great person. I've worked out with him, spoken to him in private. He is who he is on this show. Go to th.fit, join the newsletter. And if you're in the Bay Area, get your ass to one of these 6:30 workouts on Saturday, and let's see what's what.
Or join one of our gyms. But if you're a guy and you want to have foster that connection, come by for a workout.
Oh, I fully bless NC Fit. It was a great experience. Love that family. Thanks, buddy.
Thank you. Thank you.
Uh-huh.